talk session tonight. And tonight we are going to have again an educator from different part of the world, as you know. And tonight our guest is from Greece, and he is George Kokolas, and he's a positive educator and ELT teacher trainer. When he comes, we are going to start our live session with him. And let me invite him to the session. Just a moment. Mhm. I have accepted your invitation to.
I, I think I can hear you. I don't know
Oh,
if you can see me.
you are
I can
here.
see you. Yeah,
You
yeah, I'm
can
here.
see me, but okay, it's not a problem. We can do like this. That's not a problem for me if you can see me. It's okay. Is this okay for you, Mr. Kokolas
It's
or
totally
George?
fine. It's totally
Oh, okay, perfect.
George.
So, George, and I would like to say one more time, just actually, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and for teacher talks and being with us tonight here. It's a great honor to have you.
The pleasure is all mine, Volkan. And allow me to say in this beginning that I think you deserve a very big thank you and congratulations because I don't know if
Thank
you realize what you are doing. You have created a series of, if I'm not mistaken, this is podcast like a show 136 episode. So you have
Yes.
created an amazing line of content right now with ELT professionals. This could have been like a university project or a study. So congratulations to you, and it's a great pleasure for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. And it's really great, the honor to hear from you, George. It's really great. And if you are ready, when we can start, and I know that we are all busy, and you are also busy. So if you're ready, we can start. Can we?
Absolutely. Far
Okay.
away.
All right. So I know about you, George, but maybe our followers would like to know about you. And so can you tell us about yourself, please, and a bit about your experiences too?
Where do I start actually? I started, if I do have to put a title on myself, I still call myself an English teacher because that's how I started. Quite a while ago. I started teaching in an academy here in Athens, Greece. After 5 or 6 years of daily lessons and being at the front light of the classroom, express publishing came into my life. So apart from getting to know the world of the publishers, for me it was really,
Mm-hmm.
really important because I got into the world of training. And I'm really blessed because I have traveled extensively almost all over the world right
Wow.
now, purely for educational purposes. Yes, I have talked to many teachers. I have been to classes from Latin America up to Russia, and I
Ooh.
don't know, from the
Mm-hmm.
States up to Asia. So this, I have seen a lot. I've seen a lot, and this somehow developed, a different perspective
Yeah, I see.
of me. In this process of becoming a trainer, there came a moment that I realized that I needed to do an extra step, and this had to do because I could realize that maybe what was
Mm-hmm.
happening in the classes maybe was not enough. So back in 2012, I started reading and studying a lot aspects of neuroscience and how this can be applied into an educational classroom. And
Uh-huh.
then I came across Rachel Paling, who I highly recommend. Out of curiosity, I followed her course on neurolanguage coaching, and this gave me another insight and perspective in what
Mm-hmm.
is called applied neuroscience in the classroom. And
I
then
see.
COVID came, and when COVID came, I had to actually face and confront a new start, like each one of us, because that was a
Exactly.
pivotal, let's say, moment. And then I came across positive psychology and, of course, positive education, which is a calling, I could say it. And after all these years, something that I would like to follow, promote,
Uh-huh.
and convey the message to as many teachers as possible. So,
Mm-hmm.
more or less within the years. Also, I'm a very active person like you in the social media.
Mm-hmm. I
I
know
was
you're
glad.
very active.
Yeah. I was happy to receive an acknowledgement as one of the most important ELT influencers in Greece for 2022. I
Wonderful.
also have a podcast called Teachers Coffee, which is more or less what you do, but it's more like a podcast. And I post in several groups. Maybe people have seen, following. I believe a lot in the idea of the community,
Uh-huh.
and I will do anything in my power to extend this, the global ELT community, I mean.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's really great. And so, what is the name of the podcast? Can you say it again, please?
The podcast is called Teachers Coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sponsored by Express Publishing, but we never keep it like promoting books or something like that. It's simply an offer of Express Publishing to the global
I
community. We also have
see.
English language teaching professionals every week. These are recorded sessions, and I'm trying to keep people and friends from all over the
I
world. For
I
example,
see.
now we have this week, we have someone from Honduras, Gracia Mendoza, who is a very active person, even in
Wonderful. Mm-hmm.
TESOL. Yeah, and you are all invited to follow.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, George, for this. Let's move to another question. And what was or were your turning point or points in your own education?
Very, very good question. I
Thank you.
think I think I mentioned this partially in a way, but to me it was a revelation because when COVID came, actually my last trip was in Poland around the 18th of March of 2020, and then you realize that I'm someone now that people look, and sometimes they may become a little bit
Uh,
envy, in the sense that I was very blessed and lucky to have a job that has traveled me everywhere. So from a jet set traveler, I had to confine myself during COVID, in an apartment here downtown in Athens. And I had to see what is going on, how we will take it from there. And that was also a personal quest, if you like, and a personal question. So
exactly.
that's when I started, spending more time online because there was nothing else to do. We were all glued literally in front of these screens, and I came across positive education and positive psychology. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yes, as I said before, that was like a calling for me. Right now, I'm trying to get this into another level because I have
Uh-huh.
finished all the studies required in a way, which is a continuous process. But literally, I want to bring this in Europe, and I want to, walk and talk more, create more awareness among teachers about positive education. A turning point was when I became connected with Martin Seligman, which is the
Wow.
father of positive psychology. Yes,
He's
and he liked
cool.
what I do,
Uh-huh.
and he connected me with other people. So hopefully I'm going to meet him soon in Austria because there is a conference there. So that
Yeah.
that was for me a recent turning point right now, which it gave me another meaning and made me
Yeah.
very happy as well.
Mm-hmm. It's a really great turning point for you. We're really happy, and I hope you, as soon as possible, you will meet with him in Australia.
Why not? Why
Why
not?
not?
Why not?
Okay. Thank you very much, George. And I know that you have been teaching for a long time, George, as a teacher. Also, you are a teacher trainer for a long time
Mhm.
also, and probably during your, the teaching career, you have tried different methodologies and different techniques and different strategies, and probably you have a philosophy of teaching. So, what is it? What is your philosophy of teaching?
My philosophy of teaching, which I'm not going to say it without how can I say it, consideration, because this has been a process for me, an ongoing process for many years right now. If you would ask me this question 20 years ago, probably you would get a completely different answer from me.
Uh-huh.
So my consideration is, and this is something that I would always say to all the teachers, is have a meaningful lesson. And when I say meaningful, this is an individual, if you want, let's say, mission, and at the same time a collective mission. So you cannot entering into a class without a meaning, without, as Simon Sinek says, your own why, your students' why.
I see.
And it's good to be aware of what is happening around you. But as a teacher, you are the person who is entering in this classroom every day. So you should know, not me, not you.
Uh-huh.
We can all recite and talk about theories, but you are the person who is entering this class and knows exactly what these kids or students need. So try to find this meaning and try to give it, because I think the difficult part is trying to find it and detect it among your
Mm-hmm.
students. You need to be able to give them the opportunity to confess
I
this to
see.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's not very easy. And usually, the majority of the times, just to answer your questions, I think what um, makes the difference today and what is my philosophy is this meaning, from what I see, is communication.
Yeah,
We
that's a
use
good point.
language for communication out there. It's not accidentally that everybody's talking about the soft skills. It's not by accident that everybody is stressing how important it is that the students not only simply get a certificate but be able to communicate. So I guess that's my philosophy. Get them to use the language as much as possible. And there, yes, neuroscience, positive education, methodology can all help you, but this
Mm-hmm.
should be the outcome. Otherwise, I don't know what's the purpose of doing this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
simply finishing the exercises or dealing with the curriculum or simply getting a certificate. Language is about communication. That's what you do.
I see.
That's what we all do, and that's how we're able to communicate. This is what our students will need more than ever, more than ever.
I totally agree. Totally agree. I can't agree more, George, really. That's also what we want actually, to use to make them use the language effectively. But sometimes, we face some people and they say, I understand. I'm very good at the grammar part. I'm very good at and understanding what the other people say, but what they say, but I can't talk. I can't communicate. That's a problem. But we need to figure it out. Yes, I think you're right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. As a teachers, the as a teachers, we have definitely some good stories, and sometimes we have bad stories or difficult times, and success stories also we have. And if you have, can you tell us one or two success stories of yours, something inspirational? We can be really happy.
I have two stories to tell you from
Mm-hmm.
different parts of the
Great.
world.
Wow.
The
Mm-hmm.
first one is connected to what I said before about Mr. Seligman, because how I connected with him, connecting with Seligman is like, being a footballer at a smaller division and meeting suddenly Ronaldo. I mean, we're talking about, of this caliber of a person. He's the person who came up with positive psychology. So I was delivering this. Actually, there are certain magic moments, because my last talk is called Positive Education for Beginners. So I have delivered it this year at least 6 or 7 times.
Wow.
And what is really remarkable is that in the majority of the times I get a queue of people that they don't simply want to say thank you or congratulations or whatever. They usually hug me and they say, that's what I wanted to hear. So for me, this is a very reassuring moment. And one of these ladies actually hugged me and said, my father worked with me, Dr. Seligman.
Uh-huh.
And since, in the talk, I have been mentioning him several times, and I know his email, I know where to find him. And she was the person who gave me Dr. Seligman's email. And that's how the thing started, which, it was something that really loved. The other experience that I can never forget, I will travel you back in
Wow.
2017
Mm-hmm.
during to an unprecedented, let's say, travel that it was an experience of a life that I had in West Africa in a country called Benin.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Benin is an extremely poor country in terms of resources and of course of economy.
Wow.
And they were organizing a conference for English teachers that I was
Uh-huh.
invited to speak. It was scorching hot. We're talking about over 45 degrees. And as we're approaching the venue, I see the car parking outside of what was supposed to be the venue, and
I
the
see.
venue was a huge tent. It was like a
I
Bedouin
see.
tent. Yes, a huge tent that it was full, packed with 200 teachers
No.
who, I've never seen that, Volcan, this passion in the eyes.
I see.
These teachers didn't have even one chalk to write on the blackboard.
Uh-huh.
And you could see all this participation and this thirst that they had for finding out more. And
Mm-hmm.
it was the most, how can I say it, bizarre or weird, presentation I've ever had, because it was hot. There was this huge fan under the tent. Under the soil, it was simply sand.
I
There was no
see.
floor. But I will never forget, the passion in the eyes of these teachers. So I said, if these teachers can go and have a lesson, us that we come from more civilized countries and we have more resources, we can do it. It's the human factor. That's
Exactly.
always what I stress from this
Uh-huh.
story, that
It's
it's
really,
important.
well, it's a really great story about it. I'm sure that, it's really, actually, we are really happy to listen to that story. And I'm sure that that's really, that have a place in your mind for a long time to see that lots of people in front of you just trying to learn something from you. That's really great, the moment for you probably to be there with
Thank you.
them. Mm-hmm.
It is. It
Thank,
is.
thank you very much. And let's move to another question. You just mentioned a couple times with the positive education. So
Mhm.
I want to ask a question about it. And what is positive education first? And how does it differ from traditional education? Probably there are some differences between them. So is it possible to tell us about it?
Absolutely. And thank you again for this question, because
You're welcome.
there is definitely a misunderstanding sometimes, and I totally get it. Positive education stems from positive psychology, but it's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Positive psychology, it's a branch of psychology, it's a science, it's a new science, no more than 20, 22 years old. Started with Martin Seligman. There is a lot of bibliography. There are so many journals about it. And practically, what even, the psychologists say is that in the majority of the times we go to the psychologist when we have a problem. And the
Yeah,
psychologist, yes, what he can do is simply maybe from -10 get us back to zero, get us back to
uh-huh.
homeostatic, neutral situation. Bottom line, to put it bluntly, a psychologist cannot generate happiness. He can help you with your problem, he can pull you out of the difficult situation, but he cannot generate happiness.
I
And I think Dr.
see.
Seligman knew that quite well. And he thought that this cannot be just a science that will remain within the strictly boundaries of the academy. It cannot be just theory. It has to be out.
I
And the
see.
best thing to be conveyed, the best channel to be conveyed, is education. So Seligman actually, what people don't know is that long before positive psychology was established as a science, in Australia there was Geelong Grammar
Uh-huh.
School and another association of schools that they had positive practices. They didn't know how to label it. They didn't know that that was positive psychology back then. But somehow these two people, like a wonderful blessing, came together. The people from Geelong Grammar School invited Seligman. He went there for 9 months to Australia. That was back in 2016, I think. And he came
Wow.
up with positive education. And positive
Mm-hmm.
education, to put it bluntly, Volcan, is techniques of positive psychology
Uh-huh.
applied in an educational environment. But here comes
Mm-hmm.
the best part. You don't need the psychologist to apply this. It's us,
Oh,
the teachers, who can actually bring this into the classroom.
great
It's definitely a
point. Mm-hmm.
science, yes, as well, very very well grounded science. But I guess it takes a lot to work with. It's mostly also a mindset, and you need to be very well aware
I
when
see. Mm-hmm.
you practice it. If this answers your question.
Yeah, of course, definitely. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really great answer for the question. Can I ask you another something. You mentioned the positive education. Is it any kind of relation with SEL, social emotional learning? Is there any?
Of course it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First of all, there are many different frameworks of positive education and positive psychology. Once a teacher decides to get into this, maybe he simply needs to choose. But more or less, all these frameworks, they are based on specific values, on specific virtues, as we call them.
Nice.
And
True.
basically, what I follow and what I talk about a lot, even because I have delivered once a course 1 year ago, and I'm planning to develop it more as well. I'm talking a lot about the character strengths. The character strengths are 24 different strengths, which have been the most dominant ones through history, philosophy,
Uh-huh.
literature, and culture and civilization. They are universal. They are global. And part of them is actually social and emotional learning. So,
I
yes, it's
see.
totally related. Some of them that come, to my mind is, for example, zest, kindness, perseverance,
Mm-hmm.
love of learning, love in general for life. So, whatever you practice in your classroom within this sphere
Yeah.
definitely can create, you are within the sphere of positive education. All you need to do is, of course, have and receive an additional some training, but it's really important that this starts from you. I mean, the positive
Mm-hmm.
educator should be also the embodiment of someone who is positive. I cannot
I see.
imagine a positive educator who is, for example, rude or not kind or not empathetic. So you have to live by these values as well,
Of
so to
course.
be able to
Definitely.
transfer them to the students.
Mm-hmm. It's really excellent and the key points you mentioned here about it. Thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you very much. And I want to ask you another question again with the positive education, which is related to the students. And how can positive education impact, students' overall well-being and mental health?
Volkan, thank you for this question again
You're welcome.
because I think I'm gonna be really honest and I'm gonna speak my mind because I
Of
think this
course.
is what right now I think we're going through very turbulent times. At
Exactly.
least, in our neighborhood, we have, I'm not talking politically here, we have two wars right now. We have seen all
Exactly,
the
I know.
pictures
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Exactly.
Not only that, specifically in the region of Balkans and in my country, I don't know if it's in Turkey the same, we have many, many cases of juvenile violence. Uh, I had some teachers from Serbia, they were calling me in panic during the summer, massive shootings at schools as well. And there are, what other people consider like minor. I don't like bullying or negative feelings in general. And I think to answer your questions, as educators, we must have some responsibility for that. And the responsibility is not that we are preaching violence
Definitely.
or all this,
Mm-hmm.
is doing something to procure. So this won't happen. I don't want to have in my class the next leader who will open fire to women or children. I don't want to have the next bully in my class. I don't want to have, obviously, I think if we create this culture of positivity within
Mm-hmm.
schools, we can aspire for a better future and tomorrow. So, to answer your question, I believe about this framework because I think this can create more positive feelings in the classroom,
I see.
better people out there tomorrow, and of course, yes, better, I don't know, a better life for everyone because nobody
I
wants
see.
violence or anything else, any other negative feeling. It's something that can be cultivated, and the school is the perfect context for this to happen, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you. Thank you, George. And I want to add another question, which is
Mm-hmm.
again related with positive education. But maybe you mention it, but maybe you would like to add something else. How does this, the positive education address like issues as you just mentioned, like bullying, stress, and anxiety in the school environment?
I'm going to tell you an example. This is actually research that comes from a certain journal, and it was kind of social experiment.
Uh-huh.
In one school in America, in a provincial city, not a very big city, there was once the teacher, out of the blue, decided to bring a baby. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
part of the experiment. And the task was, look, we're going to have this baby twice per week for 2 hours, and we're going to take care of it as a class.
As a
Now,
class.
as a classroom, yes, the presence of this baby has actually nurtured such positive and tender feelings to all the kids that, when you have a creature like this in the classroom, there is no room for bullying. There is no room for competition or any other, because everybody, through kindness, through care, they take care of the baby. And based on that experiment, many positive education programs, for example, they do the same. They go the kids to farms, so to take care of animals. So when I organize an activity, in other words, that inspires something that it cannot be disrupted by violence, because even if you have a bully in the classroom and he sees this baby, or feeds a small animal himself, that's when you soothe the soul. That's when you realize that it's not only negative feeling, it's not only competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of the team, and collectively, if all that is gradually this become part of the program, maybe yes, I think we can aspire to a better tomorrow. It's again procurement, as I told you before, but in action, there are so many different things that you can do. The appreciation of love of learning, free reading as well. Talking a lot about the positive things among the classroom,
Yes.
spotting the character strengths. There are so many other activities that they may deviate a little bit from maybe the curriculum. Absolutely nothing
Mm-hmm.
when you are kind to each other, respect, and you create all these positive feelings.
I
And
see.
by the way, Volkan, I think, we need this more than ever, because after COVID, since we mentioned COVID, I think many teachers and students came out traumatized. I mean, I
Exactly.
think
Mm-hmm.
still the educational community is trying to recover from this.
Yeah. Totally.
That is
Totally
why
agree,
offering,
George.
yeah, a ray of positivity may be a solution to this.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's still, some teachers and some students, they are still having problems to, actually kind of adaptation problems. They are still having it. Mm-hmm.
Of course, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to ask another question, again with the positive education, but this time is related with the school. Like, how can, the schools promote a positive school culture and a sense of belonging among students and the staff?
Um, First of all, we need to realize that this is not like one size fits all. It's not like a remedy or a recipe that you take, you apply it, and automatically everything turns out positive.
I see.
We talked a lot about the importance of starting with an individual process. So, as a teacher, if you want to deal with positive education, the first thing that I would say to you is, first of all, start a lot with self-reflection. Do you really want to do this? Do you really believe that you can do it? And is
Exactly.
it something
Mm-hmm.
that expresses you? I have come across many even people, many teachers as well, who have forgotten to do this. Spend some time with themselves and find what they actually want. This is a personal process. Nobody's involved. The second is self-intervention, which means that once you decide what you like, try to apply it first to yourself and see if it works. It's
Uh-huh.
about believing in what you preach or practice what you lecture all the time. It has to go through the teacher, the positive educator needs to go through this. And the third is what we mentioned before, is about embodiment. I mean, right
I see.
now, I cannot imagine somebody, as I told you before, a positive educator that is positive and talks rudely to the students, or he has no empathy at all, or that he screams all the time, or he doesn't look into his personal development. You need to become the embodiment of this.
I see.
This is the individual state, and collectively right now we're talking about entire programs that the school can actually take. And in this program, for example, in Australia, even the janitor is part of this program. From the janitor up to the headmaster, they are all trained to address, support this positive environment. And then it becomes very, very task specific. And I need to say here that I work for a publisher right now that through the publications is one of the few publishers that we do promote a lot positive education with integrated tasks, and it can be definitely applied through, in an ELT classroom.
I
And I'm really happy and grateful that, I'm given the opportunity to talk to the people about this using many, many examples from our books, from Express Publishing books.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, there are ways, but it's an individual and then a more collective process.
I see. Thank you very much, George. Really, all the information that you've given us here about the positive, the education, that's really excellent. I mean, we learned a lot about them. Thank you very much. Now, I want to move to another questions, if it is okay for you.
Of course.
You teachers, you have done lots of presentations so far. When you think about your training sessions and presentations, what was or were the most interesting situation or situations that you faced?
You can count the two stories that I told you before, but I'm going to tell you something else.
Okay.
I think for me right now, because I've been trying to count my presentations, and I may have exceeded 1,000 different presentations in lectures. Each presentation, each one of them is a living organism. Volcan, I had presentations that there was one person, and I've had presentations that I was talking to over 100 people, or 800 people, I'm sorry. So for me, it's all about this rapport, but it's a momentary thing. It's a thing of the moment. And it's always different. And I always have to take something from them, and they always, I think this is my duty when I stand there, that they take something from me. And I think, I dare say, this should be the focus of any speaker, of any presenter. When you're given the floor, it's an honor by itself, and you need to honor it. So for me, I always try to raise the standards. I always try to convey and give to the people who came to listen to me something extra, something more, and hopefully they leave the presentation having some good time as well. Because if this is like a boring thing or a flat thing that people won't enjoy, nobody will come to your presentation again. Yeah, that's how I see it all the time. And what other incidents can I remember? Always, the applaud and the appreciation in the end is always something that, for me, it says a lot. It says a lot. And it's always, the reassurance that I'm looking not for personal reasons, but, for, it's a proof that all this has a meaning, and it really works. It's a purpose.
I'm sure that after every presentation you have done or the training you have given, at the end of them, if you get like positive, the feedback, of course, it really affects you in a positive way, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. So let's ask you another question. When we think about the technology, George, it's the developing and improving very fast. Sometimes, it's not easy to follow it. But my question is about you. How do you do that? how do you stay updated with the latest, the developments and trends in ELT or general education?
Again, I consider myself blessed and happy because I'm in a context, in a professional context, and again,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna mention this again because that's the truth, and there is tangible proof for that. I work for a publisher that is in the front line of innovation, so I always have this chance to come across and study thoroughly all these new technologies. The same happened with the international interactive whiteboard software. Back then, even before that, we had CD-ROMs or other and online platforms. So right now, I think the buzzing word is artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that first of all, I'm very pro and very positive about this. But we should not forget that this is just a tool. We should never feel overwhelmed by this. And I would highly recommend to all the teachers to before they choose or before they make up their minds to cast away any kind of second thoughts and get
Uh-huh.
themselves and try the actual tools. What is there? Make a subscription, try some certain material, get this trial period for a certain software so you can see yourself what this is all about.
I
And if you do this,
see.
you will realize that there is nothing to be afraid of. I'm very pro about it. I think it can help learning. Actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but
Well, of course, you can say. Mm-hmm.
we are preparing something at Express around this issue. Very soon, I think it will be announced, and it will be just another tool in line of the new technologies and how it can be fully integrated to help your lesson. There is nothing to be afraid about. There is nothing to be worried about. Or I cannot stand all this too much feeling. So we're going to be taught by robots, and they are going to conquer us and all this. No, this is I don't. This is they're saying nonsense.
I see.
The human factor is very powerful. Let AI, we are the
Definitely.
people who will dominate AI, not AI us. And it's going to be a wonderful tool that we can actually use it for learning. But we need to make our own study of it and make it as personal as possible.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Thank you. Thank you very much, George. Actually, I was planning to ask you a question about artificial intelligence with AI. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
about it, but let me ask you the question in my mind, and maybe you would like to add something. Like, how do you see the role of AI in education in the near future? Actually, you talk about it, but would you like to add anything else?
Yes, I see it as a very good companion that will provide very valuable feedback right now for the students. AI is something that can tell you right now very specifically what might be the problem with a certain student
Yeah.
and try to fix it. Okay, it can give you really nice feedback. And right now, in the beginning, I was reading that, but okay, students can cheat and they may present papers which are AI contracted. Come on now, there are all the mechanisms. That's part of the human factor. I mean, I can definitely know because, as I said in the beginning, we know our students. The teachers that are
Definitely.
watching this session, they know very well if Volkan or George can produce a good paper or not. So I'm not afraid that somebody will cheat. And even if they cheat, this is, not favor to them. It's the same with any kind of technology. So again, I think the next step will be to provide very valuable feedback about the students, will help the teachers a lot, steer the lesson towards maybe a specific direction. You may have a class that needs more writing, you may have a class that needs more speaking. The data-driven intelligence and data that you will get from AI will help you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that's, I
understand.
think, the plus that we are expecting to see in practice as well.
Exactly. For example, I want to give an example about this. I think last week, or I don't know, 2 weeks ago, one of my students brought me a writing paper. So, but it was really clear that he got that paper from ChatGPT.
Well,
He made it.
you
Yeah,
see,
exactly. And I understood that he got it from there, but I didn't say anything. I just accepted it. But I just, the kind of gave an explanation. Like, okay, I know all of you very well, and I know what you can or can't do, or what can you write or what can't you write. Please, like, do the things yourself and do not get it from somewhere else, because it's not difficult for teachers to understand about their students what their capability of, the writing, or I don't know, any other the skills. It's not easy. It's not difficult for
absolutely.
us to understand. But like this, I had just this situation I just wanted to mention here. That's what I
In
want
a
to
way,
say.
you confirmed what I
Yeah,
said. And I guess, when this is happening at a high university level, it's going to be, I think, easier to spot it, at a primary or a secondary
yeah,
level as well for the
exactly.
teacher.
I see. Thank
So
you.
nothing to
Thank
worry.
exactly. Okay, so let me ask you another question, George. By the way, the time flies. Just a couple questions left, and
Of course.
I hope it's okay. So far, so good. How do you feel? Are you
Oh,
okay?
I feel
I
it
hope.
feels great. I didn't realize that, time flies when you're having fun. So yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So I want to ask you questions about the new teachers. We need your suggestions. Let me ask you them. What advice would you give to, the new or aspiring English language teachers who are just starting their teaching careers?
My It's gonna sound like a cliche, but my advice is never stop. Never stop learning. Never stop.
Uh-huh.
Never get complacent or never actually think that something, ends. There are no comfort zones here. There is always different circles that you need to fulfill and then move on to the next one. And this never ever stops. And I'm afraid to say, new teachers, they will realize that if they look around them, they will see many, many similar cases. And it's not embarrassing for the society or for the people, how they show up in front of other people. It's a little bit
Uh-huh.
embarrassing about the professionals themselves. No matter if you are 25 or 65, I think it's part of the duty without any judgment. It's part of what you like to never stop learning. And this, so to give a positive aspect, this should not happen, like something that needs to be done or an assignment. It has to come from the love of learning, curiosity as well, which are basic
Exactly.
values that positive psychology as well cultivates. If the students see the teacher like this, being restless all the time, trying, to find new things, be receptive to new ideas, they're going to do the same because that's when you become the embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
So never rest, young teachers. Keep on learning, and it's a fascinating journey. Eventually, when you realize this, you do enjoy it yourself, and it becomes fun. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't become a job anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I always say that, like, that's kind of I always use it as a kind of a motto. When you stop learning, you stop teaching. It's kind of what I'm thinking and saying always. When you stop learning, you stop teaching.
exactly,
Mm,
exactly, exactly. That's
mm.
it. You always, I think Simon Sinek says, um, in one of his videos, by the way, I think I'm going to post it soon.
Sure.
There is no
Hmm.
leader who should uh, not, you cannot be a leader if you don't consider yourself a student. End of story.
Yeah.
You are a student all the time. No matter what your title is or your position or your studies, all the time you should act and behave like a student. It's a
Exactly.
never-ending happy process.
Hmm. Totally agree with you. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you, George. And let me move to another questions. The time flies and years flies. And by the way, let me ask you, how do you see yourself in 10 years, George? Will you still be a trainer or try another jobs?
You know, Volkan, I have no reason to change that because I like what I'm doing. I have a wonderful job, a job that gives me the opportunity to travel, meet people, and
Exactly.
do the things, study the things that I like. So yeah, I, I don't know. I can see myself meeting more interesting people, getting to meet more teachers, share, learn more. That's how I see it.
Uh-huh.
And I like having not like very long goals and terms because when you make plans, life brings completely different plans for you. So yeah, my short term is developing what I have, and becoming better, raising the standards. That's one of my mottos: raising the standards as much as possible to what we have.
I
We
see.
need this. We need this.
Exactly. Great. Great, George. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So, George, there are some times in our lives, difficult times or maybe we challenging times we face. And at that times we say, oh, I wish I could have that power or I could have this power to use it, actually superpowers maybe, so I could do it easily. And let's move to in another point, which is with our classrooms. So if you could have one superpower to use in the classroom, what would it be and how would it help you?
Volkan, that's the most difficult question of the day, I think. Okay. But I think I have the answer because maybe this sometimes stems from real life. I would like to have the human power to be able to read my students' minds when I'm
Ah,
saying and talking what they're thinking, and not just out of gossip or I don't have another agenda, but trying to give them what they actually want and try to convince them and find their own ways of learning. Maybe, yeah, I would use that power if I would be able to read
uh-huh.
students' mind.
That's a
That's
nice,
the one.
nice. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, George. Okay, only two questions left, George. All right. And let me ask you the next one. For you, George, what is the most rewarding aspect of teaching?
The most rewarding aspect of teaching is seeing my students thrive,
Uh,
seeing the teachers that maybe came to one of the trainings and come to me and say, look, I've tried that and it really worked. Because as I said before, it's all about meaning. It's about being meaningful. I'm not here, I don't like theories, and I don't stand in front of any context or any conference to talk about something like a parrot. So for me, it's a meaningful thing to talk about a certain topic, and I want this to be meaningful about the audience, no matter who these people are. So if they find it meaningful and yet they try also to apply it, it's even better for me. That's the most rewarding
I
thing. Also,
see.
very rewarding is that when I see all students of mine thriving, and not only that, using English, in their everyday professions, they did not necessarily become teachers, but they became professionals in different other contexts. And the English that we had together helped them, in their job. This is also very rewarding. I'm not expecting any more. I mean, this is sufficient for me to make me happy and give me a purpose to go on and the fuel to
Uh-huh.
go on. Yeah.
I see. Thank you. Thank you, George. All right, so now I'm gonna ask you the last question. The last question of the session. Are you ready for it?
I am. Fire
Okay.
away. Shoot.
Okay, shoot me. Now I'm shooting. What is your motto?
My motto is never stop learning, always raising the standards, always do the best with what you have. And I think this is what leads to happiness. You know,
Yeah.
it's, this also stems, it's not accidental. My mother always used to tell me, and I didn't pay attention back then, no matter what you do, my kids, she was saying, and she still says, make sure that your everyday life is happy. So
I
with
see.
and this message I could not understand it back then. I found it very mundane because I was more ambitious. You know, I had
Uh-huh.
plans, I had dreams, but she
Yeah,
had a point because if your everyday life is unhappy, this is a very big bell. You cannot do anything. You paralyze because you start thinking about the things that create misery. So fix your everyday lives. That's my motto. And then this will pave the way for your dreams going to the next step. But it
I
needs
see.
to be taken gradually.
Uh-huh.
Usually we get really disappointed because we have a dream, and if it's not happening or adversity comes, we get disappointed. No, adversity is part of life. We need to be able to deal with that. We need to move on and move on. And eventually you wake up one day and you say, yes, I'm happy. That's what I need. That's what I want. So
I see. I
that's my motto.
That's your motto. Thank you. Thank you very much, George. All right. And that's all my questions, by the way, George. And that we had a perfect sessions, really. So before ending our live sessions, would you like to add anything else?
I would like to say that once more, a big thank you and congratulations to what you are doing. Never stop what you are doing because I think this is a wonderful. I've never been
Thank you.
to, I was only partially in another Instagram session years ago, but just for a few minutes, and it was a very bad connection. That you're doing this in a very organized way. So what I say, is let's enjoy what we do and try to find our personal and collective meaning. That's my message. And this is something that you convey from what you do here because you can tell that you like very much what you are doing. You're doing it for your fellow teachers, and
Mm-hmm.
I totally support that. You are
Thank you.
a real embodiment and bright example.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George. Thank you. And I would like to say before ending the live session, thank you very much one more time for being with us here and giving lots of suggestions and advice and especially your time. You spent your time, which is really important for all of us. Thank you very much one more time.
Pleasure
And
has been all mine. Thank you.
George Kokolas was with us tonight, and we had a fruitful session with him, and we talked lots of topics with him, and we are going to be here next week on the same day at the same time as every Monday 9 p.m. Turkey's time. And until the next time, please take care of yourself and please do good things for around of you. And also take care of yourself one more time and take care of yourself, George. And wherever you are, peace, everybody. Peace and good night.
Good night. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Goodbye to everyone. Bye
Bye.
bye.